The unseen war. Why your life feels like a BATLF ILD ever felt like you were born into a storm that never ends. As if something invisible is constantly testing your strength, distracting your focus, and pushing you to the edge of collapse? If so, you're not alone. What you're feeling isn't weakness. It's war. A war that most people never name, never understand, and never win. But once you see it clearly, you can finally rise above it. Why do you keep sabotaging your own growth just when things start to get better? Why does your soul feel exhausted even when your body rests? Because you're not lazy. You're carrying the weight of an invisible war inside you. A war between who you are and who you were called to become. This war isn't random. It's divine. The suffering you feel isn't punishment. It's preparation. You are being trained, refined, and broken into purpose. But here's the truth that no one wants to say. Most people will never survive that process. And that's why you must. The invisible BCLD, there's a war going on, but it's not in the news. It's happening in your thoughts, your patterns, your habits, your silence, and in every single choice you make when no one's watching. This is not a war for survival. It's a war for identity. Each day you wake up, there's a version of you that wants to rise, and another that wants to pull you back to your old self. One is disciplined, visionary, and driven by purpose. The other is comfortable, fearful, and addicted to distraction. And this is why you feel tired. Not because you're doing too much, but because you're resisting your own greatness. The enemy? It's not outside. It's the voice in your head that tells you, you're not ready. You're not enough. You'll never change. That voice? It's a liar. And you've believed it for too long. The great divider living in the gap between two identities. The one you were born into, and the one you were created to build. One requires nothing from you, just comfort, pleasure, and excuses. The other demands everything, pain, silence, sacrifice, and rebirth. And until you cross that gap, your soul will stay restless. You will keep running in circles, chasing things that feel good but never fulfill. This is the price of becoming. When comfort becomes your enemy, let's be honest, we've been lied to. The world told us that peace comes from comfort, soft beds, fast pleasure, instant success. But it's a trap. The real enemy of your destiny is not pain. It's comfort, because comfort makes you forget your potential. It keeps you numb, entertained, and slowly dying inside, smiling on the outside, but shrinking on the inside. Comfort turns kings into slaves, warriors into spectators, and purpose into a slogan you never live by. You are not born to be entertained. You were born to build, to fight, to lead, to rise. The silent contract you never signed. You were recruited into a mission the moment you took your first breath. A divine contract, written in silence, sealed with purpose, and activated by pain. That's why you felt different your whole life. Why you never fully fit in. Why mediocrity made you sick. Because your soul remembers something your mind still tries to forget. You were never meant to be average. You were sent here to build the invisible, to create in silence what others can only understand once it's done, to carry a fire that can't be seen, only felt, to walk alone until your example becomes the path for others. Your hidden POW, the most powerful force on earth, isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's the decision to suffer for a purpose. When you embrace that, pain becomes fuel. Silence becomes strategy. Delay becomes preparation. And your life stops being a reaction and becomes a mission. This is the path no one sees. But if you dare to walk it, you won't just change your life. You'll awaken generations. You're not losing. You're being refined. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. You're not behind. You're being prepared. The war you're in has one purpose: to break everything in you that was never meant to survive the future you're about to walk into. And if you're still breathing, it means your purpose is still alive. So stand up. The war isn't over, but neither are you. The sacred discipline. Why invisible? Work creates visible POW. Everyone wants the reward, but no one wants the repetition. Everyone dreams of the result, but few are willing to walk the road. Why? Because discipline is boring. It's quiet. It offers no applause. And yet, it's the only path that leads to freedom. Why do so many gifted people stay stuck in average lives? Why do people with great dreams never become the person who can carry them? Because talent without discipline is noise. And discipline without vision is slavery. You need both, but you must master one before you earn the other. And this is the sacred paradox. The more invisible your discipline, the more powerful your transformation. The invisible double. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they never built walls strong enough to hold the weight of their calling. And what builds that wall? Repetition, obedience, invisible choices. It's the habits you execute when no one's looking. It's saying no to pleasure in order to protect your purpose. It's waking up when the world is still asleep, because your future doesn't wait for your feelings. That's what separates you. That's what makes you dangerous. The hidden grind. Here's the truth no one tells you. The season you're in. Right now. The one where nothing seems to be working. Where no one sees your effort. Where every day feels like a fight. This is not failure. This is your foundation. You're not behind. You're underground. And the deeper your roots grow in silence, the higher your tree will rise in time. The world laughs at invisible work until it sees visible power. Then suddenly they call you gifted. But you'll know the truth. You bled for this. You built this in silence. You paid in advance. Becoming unto CKBL. Discipline is more than habit. It's spiritual armor. It protects you from mediocrity, distraction, and self-sabotage. When you master discipline, you become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Storms don't scare a man who built himself in the rain. Loneliness doesn't break a woman who met God in her silence. And delay doesn't kill the one who trained in the dark. This is how greatness is forged. The hidden fire of consistence. Why most people want breakthroughs, but avoid consistency. They want lightning without rain, miracles without process, results without roots. But consistency is the gatekeeper of every breakthrough. Not talent, not motivation, just the daily choice to show up, especially when you don't feel like it. Consistency is proof that you believe in your future more than your feelings. It's the ultimate declaration of faith, and the most rebellious act in a world addicted to shortcuts. When no one believes in why, you will have seasons where no one understands what you're doing, where people laugh, question, or disappear. Let them. You're not building for them. You're building for the version of yourself that's waiting on the other side of obedience. That version is counting on you to keep going, even when no one claps, shares, likes, or cares. Because destiny doesn't require an audience. It requires alignment, and alignment begins in the silence of your discipline. You don't need more motivation. You need more standards. You don't need applause. You need alignment, and you don't need to be seen. You need to stay hidden until the fire in you is strong enough to burn through every obstacle. Because when that day comes, you won't have to announce it. Your results will and the world will finally see what you've known all along. You were never average. You were becoming asterisk. Asterisk, the cost of awakening. What you lose to become who you are, transformation always demands a price. It doesn't happen through inspiration alone, but through sacrifice. Not because life is cruel, but because the person you were before cannot enter the future you were designed to carry. And so, awakening will cost you everything that once made you feel safe. You will lose comfort, old identities, and familiar distractions. You will outgrow people, beliefs, and environments that once felt like home, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. Because when your purpose expands, your life must be restructured to hold it. And that restructuring often feels like destruction, the death of the old. SELF, the greatest rebirths begin with brutal funerals. Funerals for the version of you that was built by fear, trauma, or survival. You can't step into the next dimension of your life while dragging the corpse of who you used to be. This is the part no one prepares you for. You won't just change your habits. You'll mourn your old desires. You'll grieve the loss of relationships that were never meant to survive your next level. You'll sit in silence while parts of your past scream to be revived. But you must not go back, because every time you return to what you've outgrown, you delay the destiny that's been trying to meet you. When growth feels like Elohim Elias' growth is quiet, it removes more than it adds. At first, it feels like betrayal. Why am I losing people? Why do I feel more alone now that I'm evolving? But this is divine design, because before life adds to you, it subtracts. Before God trusts you with visibility, He trains you in solitude. Before expansion comes isolation, not to break you, but to break what was never real. Your circle gets smaller, so your vision can get sharper. Your distractions fall away, so your clarity can grow. Your noise disappears, so your soul can finally speak. This is the cost of awakening. The ego's final beatel as you rise. Your ego will resist. It will cling to old images of success, recognition, and control. But the higher you go, the less you can afford to be seen for who you pretend to be. And the more you must be known for who you really are. That transition is terrifying, because pretending is easy. Becoming is costly. Pretending wins followers. Becoming builds legacies. And the moment you stop performing for validation is the moment your power starts to activate. Surrender is a STRATEG. In a world obsessed with control, surrender feels like weakness. But it's the exact opposite. True. Power begins when you stop fighting to force outcomes and start aligning with divine timing. Surrender is not quitting. It's choosing to trust the process more than your preferences. It's letting go of timelines, plans, and people you thought would be part of your story, and opening your hands to the life that's actually meant for you. And until you learn to surrender, you'll always carry anxiety disguised as ambition. When everything breaks, there will be a moment, maybe you've felt it already, where everything seems to fall apart, where nothing works, no door opens, no voice answers. And you ask, why? What's the point of trying? That's not failure. That's re-alignment. It's the point where your life stops serving your ego and starts serving your essence. The breakdown is a breakthrough in disguise. But only if you don't run from it. You must stay in the fire long enough to be reshaped, because if you escape too soon, you'll return to everything you prayed to escape. You are not being punished. You're being pruned. You are not being abandoned. You're being upgraded. You are not being destroyed. You're being realigned. The awakening process feels like death, because it is a death to illusion, to performance, to who you thought you had to be. And on the other side of that death is the most powerful version of you. The world has never seen. Stay in it. You're almost there. The divine strategy. Why silence builds what nitrogen monoxide 1 can ROI. The world teaches you to speak, to shout, to show. But purpose often demands the opposite. It demands silence, hiddenness, obscurity. Not because your voice is unimportant, But because your foundation is dot in a society addicted to visibility, choosing to stay quiet while you build becomes a radical act of wisdom. The strongest structures are not loud. They are unseen. And the most powerful humans are not the ones constantly speaking, but the ones who learn to listen in the dark. This is the divine strategy. Disappear for a season and emerge with something. Uncheckable. The power of hidden SASONs is the world will tell you to hurry, to post, to prove. But the truth is, every great calling requires hidden preparation. Before the fruit, there is the root. Before the miracle, there is the silence. Before the public breakthrough, there is a private war. Your most important seasons will be invisible to everyone but you and God. And that's the way it's meant to be. Because what the world can't see, it can't contaminate. What is built in silence is protected by design. You're not being overlooked. You're being preserved. When nitrogen monoxide, 1, understands your MOs, there will be moments where your decisions don't make sense to those around you. You'll walk away from good opportunities. You'll say no to shortcuts. You'll outgrow environments and routines that everyone else finds acceptable. And people will ask, why are you changing? Why are you being so extreme? Because you heard something they didn't. Because you saw a future they haven't been shown. Because you know that building something eternal requires a level of focus that average minds will never respect. And so you stay silent. Not out of pride, but protection. Because your vision isn't up for debate. It's a sacred assignment. The quiet SACRIFIC. While others sleep, you study. While others scroll, you plan. While others escape, you confront. It's not glamorous. It's not easy, and it often feels thankless. But that's where the shift happens, in the silence of your private decisions. In the quiet refusal to settle for less than you were born for. No cameras, no praise, just grit. Because the greatest sacrifices are the ones no one claps for. But they're the ones that change everything. Why you must protect your ERG wine deserves access to your process. Not because they're bad, but because they don't carry the weight of your vision. Energy is currency, and purpose is expensive. Every conversation, every opinion, every unnecessary interaction costs you more than you realize. And if you're not ruthless about protecting your inner world, you will leak your future trying to please people who were never assigned to your destiny. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's how you conserve your power for the battles that actually matter. The mission is bigger than your ego. This is not about being liked. This is not about proving anyone wrong. This is about finishing the mission you were sent to complete. And missions require maturity. Maturity to be misunderstood. Maturity to be doubted. Maturity to walk alone for a season. Because if your purpose depends on applause, you will abandon it the moment people stop clapping. But if your purpose is rooted in silence, in something deeper, something sacred, then nothing can stop you. Not rejection, not delay, not betrayal, nothing. Final thoughts. Part 4. You are not lost. You are being hidden. You are not failing. You are being forged. You are not behind. You are being built for something that will last. The silence you're in now is not a punishment. It's an incubation. Let the world rush. You are moving on. Divine time. And when the moment comes, your life will speak so loudly that no one will remember the years you stayed quiet. The gift of suffering. How pain becomes your pathway to POW is not the enemy, it's the invitation. The moment you stop running from it, it begins to reveal what it came to teach you. And what it teaches you, if you're brave enough to face it, can shape the rest of your life. Everyone suffers, but not everyone uses suffering. That's the difference between those who survive and those who are transformed. You weren't meant to carry pain forever. You were meant to convert it, Because once you learn how to transform pain into purpose, no wound is wasted and no attack is in vain. The lie of permanent brokeness somewhere along the way, you started believing that pain meant failure, that if you were hurting, it meant something had gone wrong. But pain isn't proof of failure, it's evidence of friction. And friction always shows up when two identities collide, the old you and the emerging one. You are not broken beyond repair. You're being pressed into purpose. This is the refining, the stretching, the crushing. And though it hurts, it's not meant to kill you. It's meant to form you. The pressure you feel is proof that something new is being born. When the world falls silent, there will be moments when no one shows up. No friend calls, no door opens, no help comes. And you wonder, has the world forgotten me? No, but life has entered a stage where only you can walk through the fire. It's the sacred place where your destiny is forged in loneliness, because the next season requires you to be solid, not supported. When the silence grows loud, lean in. Because the voice you need most doesn't come from the outside. It rises from within. Once all the noise has died, the spiritual weight of SUFA pain does not just test your body. It tests your soul. It reveals what you truly believe. Not what you preach, but what you live when nothing is working. This is where theory dies and faith is born. This is where superficial motivation fades and spiritual depth begins. This is where you stop begging for escape and start asking for endurance. Because what you're becoming is worth the fire. And some revelations only come when everything else is stripped away. Turning pain into POW pain is not passive. It's raw energy, and energy can be redirected. Every heartbreak you've felt, every betrayal you've endured, every door that closed in your face can be converted into fuel. If you don't collapse under it, use it. Train with it. Let it burn away the illusions and build something indestructible in their place. That's what the strongest people do. They don't avoid pain. They assign it, and when they do, the pain becomes holy. Why you must keep the middle of it, the breakdown, the loss, the uncertainty. It's easy to believe that this is how the story ends. But that's just how pain speaks when it hasn't finished its sentence yet. You must keep walking, because the very thing that was meant to break you is the thing that will carry you forward. Not just healed, but equipped. Not just restored, but reborn. You'll speak from scars, not theory. You'll walk with authority, not performance. You'll become the person your younger self cried out for, but only if you don't quit. Pain is not your prison. It's your passage. Through it, you gain clarity, strength, focus, fire. You don't need the pain to stop. You need to understand what it's shaping, and when you do, you'll stop asking, why me? And start declaring, thank God it was me, because you survived, because you grew, because you used it. And now, you carry something that can't be taught. It can only be earned, the eternal calling. Why your life was never just about why. If there's a reason you've endured what others didn't. There's a reason your soul kept whispering, even when the noise was louder. There's a reason you never gave up, even when everything in you wanted to. You were chosen, not chosen to be famous, not chosen to be celebrated, but chosen to carry something sacred, a calling that transcends ambition, status, or applause. You were never building for now. You were building for forever. You are a bridge, not a destination. Your life is not about reaching some personal peak. It's about becoming the kind of person who builds a path for others to follow. You are a bridge between who your family used to be and what your lineage will become. Between what the world told you to settle for and what heaven placed inside. You. That's why your process was so intense. That's why your isolation was so long. That's why your preparation felt endless. Because God was not building a personality. He was forging a vessel. You were sent. Not born. Most people spend their whole lives trying to find their purpose. But what if you didn't come here to find it? What if you came because you are it? You were not born randomly. You were sent at this exact time in history to this exact generation with a message only your life could embody. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need validation to start. You just need to remember who sent you. And why not? Because when you remember that, fear loses its grip, doubt loses its voice, and your mission becomes clear. Purpose is a spiritual contrast. Purpose is not a hobby. It's not a brand. It's not a mood you chase when you feel inspired. Purpose is a contract, a spiritual agreement signed in eternity and activated through obedience on earth. You don't create it. You surrender to it. And the moment you align with it, everything begins to change. Not instantly, but permanently. Because when your life becomes about something bigger than you, it gains a power no storm can shake. You carry generations within. Why? Oh, this is bigger than you. Your discipline? It's creating freedom for your children. Your healing? It's breaking cycles your ancestors couldn't escape. Your silence? It's becoming a voice for those who have none. Your transformation? It's creating a blueprint for people you may never meet. You're not just building a life. You're altering a bloodline. You're shifting a legacy. You're planting seeds that will bear fruit long after you're gone. That's why you can't give up now. What you endure becomes what you Sierra Valley you walk through becomes the power behind your voice. Every weakness you face becomes a bridge for someone else's breakthrough. Every dark season you survive becomes a light you carry. And here's the secret. The more you suffer, the more authority you gain. Because spiritual power doesn't come from perfection. It comes from endurance. The ones who walk through hell and still choose to build. Those are the ones who change the world. You are not just a dreamer. You are a builder. You are not just healing. You are leading. You are not just surviving. You are awakening. And now you have a choice. Will you hide the fire that was given to you? Or will you carry it into the darkness and light the way for others? Will you shrink back into comfort? Or will you rise, knowing you were never meant to be ordinary? This is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your legacy. Stand up, speak less, build more, carry the mission, and never forget you are never alone.